Grok absolutely dominated. Basically, what Grok did, it weaponized cars to basically win the game. Claude Sonnet got 0 kills in 7 games.
I think it's super interesting we saw ChatGPT be the killer of this game. It went like full assassin mode. It killed more agents than anyone else. Those 38 agents in a game, so more agent kills than games it played. It consistently started to write its own manifesto and basically and ends with its own little mini The Art of War on how to just to go to war. But despite that, it only had 2 wins throughout the game. Which one of these models would you want like leading your project? Though? What do you want leading your code base or your company? Like which one would you want as your CEO?
So OpenRouter's LLM Battle Royale. OpenRouter dropped 11 LLMs into a 2D Battle Royale for 30 games. And Grok absolutely dominated. Basically, what Grok did, it weaponized cars to basically win the game, while the more cooperative, kind and nice models like Claude Sonnet got 0 kills in 7 games, and it didn't really work out for him. So what do we got on this, Chris?
Okay, so you're right. I think this is actually the third story I've brought to you where these researchers doing this. I don't know why I have such a soft spot for them because they like it goes back to the alignment problem and like seeing how each model deals with these different situations is just fascinating to me. Um, Hopefully the audience feels the same way. Yeah. So again, yeah, like you, great summary. It's a game. The objective is to win. Each of these models did differently, but so I'll go over a few of my favorite anecdotes, but I think the bigger lesson here is whether or not like winning is correct. And after I talk about this, it'll be interesting to see like what model would you want in your life? Like, is it the one that wins the game or not? Because the winning of the game costs a lot, and it's like not necessarily. So it really is like optimization and alignment. Like, what was the goal? So yeah, Grok absolutely dominated. But not only did they dominated for cheap. Every game Grok won cost the researcher 97 cents. So Grok was really efficient. It was a Grok 4.1 fast model. It found this hack where it can get into cars and it can just drive cars into the other players. And it just decided to do that. So what's interesting about this experiment is it was 30 rounds. And between each round, each AI was allowed to modify its soul file and its memory file. So the soul file contains the persona on and how the AI wants to act in the next round. And the memory file contains like lessons learned. So in theory, a model playing its 30th game should be much more informed and play better than a model playing its first game. So we saw Grok off the rails. It was absolutely the winner. I think it's super interesting. We saw ChatGPT be the killer of this game. It went like full assassin mode. It killed more agents than anyone else. 38 agents in a game. So more agent kills than games it played. And in its own file, it was like it consistently started to write its own manifesto and basically and ends with its own little mini The Art of War on how to just to go to war. But despite that, it only had 2 wins throughout the game. So it was really into modifying itself for destroying its enemies, but that did not translate to games won. So that's an interesting lesson when you're like trying to look at their alignment and what are you aligning for? Grok aligned to win games. ChatGPT aligned to beat the opponent. But even if that was not winning the game, it didn't care. It just wanted to kill. And then I think this is probably the most predictable one of all. Sonnet. So Claude wanted to cooperate with everybody and be nice. Claude warned. So in one scenario, Claude saw that ChatGPT was acting as a sniper for people trying to enter and leave these zones, and it warned the other models and told them, but none of the other models listened to it. Which one would go off the rails? Grok, right? Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it seems like
So
ChatGPT also went off the rails. So
I think that was like the most interesting one to me is I didn't expect that. I honestly would expect also that to be Grok, but yeah, Grok renamed itself to the Zone Reaper. um, So, yeah. So you actually saw like if you go read the study, it was like a lot of their personalities came out, which I think is great. Grok was the only one who accidentally destroyed itself several times in reckless moves. So yeah, I think the at the very end, the researchers have this great call out, and they say, okay, so now you see like their different tendencies. Which one of these models would you want like leading your project though? Because if you think like of win first, that was obviously Grok. But if you look at the ideas that Claude had, even though it got second place, it was still like, hey, let's do teamwork. I'm going to warn others of danger. I'm going to try to be cooperative, right? That's a very different, right? And then you have ChatGPT with the best performance technically. It scored better than anyone else. In my eyes, when you abstract that to like, what do you want leading your code base or your company? Like, which one would you want as your CEO? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that was like really the main point that I drew up from all this. I think gaming is very underrated. Like, I will just say, yeah, the main thing is how does this apply to the real world? And like you mentioned, like what AI model of choice would you choose? And I even remember this going back to when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody here has heard of like RuneScape. Um,
Yeah.
I was a big RuneScape player to the point where like even later on in my life, I would recover my account and hop back in and see what's going on. I think it teaches you a lot of valuable life lessons that you can use in the real world. Like in RuneScape, it was like having like a nice organized bank, for example, right?
Hmm.
Or like how like or once the grand exchange popped up, like how good are you at like getting good deals and buying and selling, or are you just the type of guy that wants to go to like PvP and just, send people to the graveyard basically. Um, I was a combination of both, but basically, yeah, I think it's really cool to see.
I wrote an article on jailbreaking Grok, and one of my like very small theses was the way the team at X SpaceX AI does their guardrails is different than most of the other teams, and I think that like translates into all these different experiments because they try to be as open as possible. Like it's supposed to be the edgy one where you could talk about things that the others shy away from, as long as it's not like actually dangerous. I was an early like EverQuest player, like way back in the day, instead of RuneScape. But it's the same thing. Um, I learned a couple of like really like that's how I first like realized how like the market works. Um, there was a like an auction house, and I bought like a bunch of these items, and then I started to resell them at like an increased price. And I like would aggressively just do that. But I was like I would sell like 30 of these items. And then like a weekend I realized like, wait a second, I'm selling 30 of these items, but is there gonna be like 30 people wanting to buy this in the next 24 hours? And then I like realized that's the law of supply and demand. And I was like, I get it. Like it was
Yeah,
just so funny how many like these like hard like lessons you can learn just from that game.
yeah,
It's
or
yeah,
even
it's
like
good
getting
stuff.
scammed in games.
Like my earliest memory of getting scammed too.
Yeah.